Good day, everybody. And what I'd like to do today is I want to talk about what we're going to be doing for our final projects. So for that, we're just going to have a brief discussion on how to approach that and basically what's going to be expected from everyone here. And I'll even be getting you started so you can get an idea of how to approach this. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so first off, you're going to need a couple things. Things like the Spring 2017 scoring checklist and the 2017 instructions final visual effects. Now, both of these will give you all the instructions you're going to need to basically make this final project work. Well, what's the final project? Let's take a look. The final project itself, and you can find some examples in the example zip over here, is a 2-page layout of your piece. So basically what we have here is, again, 2 pages, front and back, here for a particular kind of topic. So in this case, this person wanted to focus on shoes. And following the instructions that's given in the 2 PDFs that's going to be provided for you, you're going to try and make this as well professional looking as possible, while at the same time adhering to the instructions that are over here. It's going to be very important that you approach this the best that you can in terms of following the instructions. Now, one of the reasons why it's basically set up the way that it is, I'm just going to bring this up, is to make sure that if you are asked to go with a particular procedure, that you could do so with little problem. So one is called the instructions. We'll get back to this. And the other is called the checklist. Now, what the checklist is for is basically just giving you a reminder of all the different parts that are required for this final project. And as I said before, the instructions is just going to give you, well, pretty much all the directions you need for this. Now, in terms of what I'm going to be looking for and what it's going to entail, you're going to have an element for Photoshop, which is right over here. Now, ideally, I want everyone to take their own pictures for several reasons. One, I want people to get used to taking their own pictures for their own work. And two, I'd like these projects to be something that's a little bit more personal to yourself. So, for example, this particular person really likes shoes, so he took the time to actually take photographs of all the shoes that you can see over here. And they were all put together in a way that made them look like they belong together. So that's an important element as well when it comes to the Photoshop part of this. But once you're done and follow all the instructions, I'm going to say that a lot because it's that important, it goes to the next part. Basically, it's going into Illustrator. I'm going to be honest. If you were able to do the first assignment with little problem, you should have no problem with this particular part. And if you were able to do well on the vector portrait, this should be a breeze. So this is probably going to be the simplest part, although interestingly enough, it has a lot of parts that you're going to be responsible for. But again, follow the instructions, you should be fine. And once those elements are done, you can put both of them into a 2-page spread, once again, that we're going to work on very shortly. And what you'll be doing here is you'll have, again, a title, headline, text, placeholder text put all into here, text put underneath your pictures, and of course little quotes here and there. And it's your job to try and make them stand out the best that you can. Now, something like you're seeing here would probably get a person, I'd say maybe a B plus, A minus. Biggest issue that's going on here is the fact that the person did not color their vector part in here. So that unfortunately was a bit of an issue. Now, I have 2 other examples that I want to show. And this one I thought was pretty good as well. It did lose a couple points in a couple spots. Once again, no color here, so that lost a couple points. It also lost points as some of the text was a little bit different in ways that really didn't help out the project. So again, lost points. But I have to admit, I did like the subject matter. Oh, and also there's no text underneath the pictures over here and here. So that was a problem. Good note though. All the elements that are here almost look like they belong together, so this actually could work out pretty nicely. But once again, not quite perfect. Now, if you want an example of what would potentially get you an A, that's what this example was provided here for as well. I mean, this just looks nice, it looks neat, it's easy to read, elements pop out very easily, particularly the quote areas, text is underneath the actual pictures. In short, this is basically what could get you, again, full A or full credit. So And of course, all the instructions were met in this particular one. So that's the long and short of what I'm looking for. Ideally, as I said before, you want to take the pictures yourself so you have full control over it. My recommendation, if you can, is try to take your pictures with sunlight being used so you could basically bring this out with little issue. But again, depending on how things are, you might not be able to get everything. So again, certain elements I might be able to bend on a bit. But ideally, I would like everyone to take their own pictures. So that's the long and short of this. Now, once it comes to, again, the checklist, and we're going to do this part together, actually. The first thing that you really need to do for yourself as a professional is make sure that you have an organized area that you can work in. So, for example, here we have our main folder, which is going to be the project folder and so on. Name underscore still life collage underscore spread is going to be the first folder. These 4 folders are going to be inside of it, which is going to be Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, and Imported. And inside the Imported folder, there's going to be another folder called Original Images. With the pictures you're going to be taking, you have to save these because everything that's going to be here, you have to turn in. So please do keep that in mind. Now when it comes to the, again, Photoshop, you're basically taking 10 different pictures. And I want to make sure that's very clear because the picture over here is a little misleading. 10 photographs specifically, not anything from an actual painting. You basically want to make sure you get all these pictures yourself, and again, that they are a topic of your choosing. So for example, if you like video games, you could put in several controllers, maybe a game system or something like. If you have a lot of like action figures or something like that, you could put in all the action figures that are around there. If you're into makeup, you could put maybe elements of makeup there or other beauty products if you want to go with that. Whatever might be of your interest. If you're into sports, you could take pictures of your sports equipment. As long as there's 10 of them, that's the part that's important. And once again, you put them inside of a picture and make it look like they belong together. All the other instructions I'll let everyone else read. But that's the long and short of it. When it comes to the vector art, you're going to take one of the photos, and it has to be one of the photos, by the way. And by the way, something I should also mention, they have to be objects that could be basically like products and such. In other words, you can't use a pet, you can't use an animal, you can't use a person, but you could use stuffed animals, that's perfectly fine. But whatever objects you put in here, one of them you're going to have to vector trace like this. Bit of a heads up, you do have to put varying width in here, that you're going to be graded on that. But again, if you were able to do the vector portrait or even the first assignment, this is going to be relatively simple compared to some of the stuff I put you through. And then once that's done, you put your 2-page spread. Now we're going to get started by basically just doing the first paragraph over here to, again, help the process. But everything else you're going to be doing on your own. Bit of a heads up too, you're going to be asked to save more than just the InDesign file when this is all said and done. And I do need your Photoshop file. I do need your InDesign file. If it doesn't fit in the Blackboard hand-in, you will be turning this in via WeTransfer. Should be able to get that almost immediately. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to the 2-page spread, in theory, a person could actually finish this within a week. I've seen one person, but this is only one person to this date, by the way, actually finish the entire thing within a class period. That being said, he actually had all the pictures ready ahead of time and was pretty much ready to roll. So that's the reason why he did. But I'm giving everyone 2 weeks to work on this. So this is going to be basically this week, then it's going to be next week. And the final day, which is, I'm just going to double check this again, and I'll remind everyone about this, by the way, May 5th, so basically again 2 weeks from the day of this video. I'm making this video a little early, by the way. This is when it's going to be turned in. I will allow everyone to turn this in by the end of the day. I will be giving some instructions for, quote-unquote, the final day, so please keep your eye on the email for this. But once the 5th is done, so are you. And that's pretty much the long and short of the final project. So once again, find your 10 pictures and then follow the instructions to the best of your ability. So let's do this first part together. As the folder of organization, we really haven't needed to do So I would like to do this with everyone. Okay, so I'm just turning off that, turning off this, and yeah. So I had to give a couple lectures today, so that's one of the reasons why I have pictures all over the place. I do apologize. A good professional will keep things organized, because after all, you don't want to have all this stuff all over your folders all the time. So I'm going to go New, File, and every so often I'm going to go back to the instructions to make sure I have everything I need. So the first folder is called name underscore still life collage underscore spread. So I'm going to make that my first folder. Now, just a bit of a heads up, make sure it's your last name. Still life collage underscore spread. Yeah, so that's an important thing. Make sure it's your last name so this way I can find your stuff. That's important, obviously. So now that I have that, I'm going to go back up here, take a look at the other folders I need, and, well, I should have really remembered this. One's Illustrator, one's a Photoshop, one's InDesign, one's imported, and of course you'll put the appropriate folders with each part. The only one that might be a little confusing is the PDF. Just put that in the InDesign, that'll be fine. So I'm going to make my folders, and again, the way that I made mine was I right-clicked. There should be an option for new folder. This will work for Mac and PC, as long as you have the three buttons ready for that. So, but worst case scenario, in case you can't actually make the folder, just name this Photoshop. You should be able to go to something like File, and there should be like an option for New or something like that. So hopefully that'll be able to help. But if you can right-click, and you can go to New, that would be the easiest way. You can name the second one Illustrator. And the third one I'm going to name InDesign. I'm going to be checking all these, so please make sure that you have all these folders ported. And in the folder over here, you're going to make a new one and name this Originals. And once you make your Originals folder, you double click here, and that's pretty much it, at least for the folder part. So to review what we just did, or well, technically what I just did, I made my folder underscore still life collage underscore spread. Made 4 folders, one for Illustrator, one for imported, one for InDesign, lots of eyes there apparently, and one for Photoshop. Just got to double check my names to make sure they're legit. Yep, they're completely legit. And then a folder specifically for. This is inside the imported folder, My Originals. So that's pretty much all you would need to do for that. Okay, so next step, now that my folder's ready, I can actually start on my project. So the way that I would start with this, I'd go to File, I'd go to New, and Document. Now, the settings that you have, as long as you use the letter settings, pretty much they're going to be the 8.5 by 11 that you're required, so just go with the letter and you're fine. You won't even have to change the units back into inches, because again, basically what we need. So going back to picas, because it's basically asking for that. This is going to be 2 pages. Oops. I'd rather start that one over again. So in case you missed out on some of the stuff, File, New. Mouse is a little bit touchy today. I apologize about that, ladies and gents. Okay, so making sure it's print, make sure it's letter. It should be 51p by 66p, or if you look at your instructions, 8.5 by 11. Basically what we want. I'm going to make the pages into 2. Don't hit return, that's basically what I did. Make 3 columns. And the gutter and margins is something we haven't had to do before, but we're going to do now. So for the gutter, if I'm not mistaken, that's 1p6. It was always good to double check. So yeah, we're skipping ahead a little bit, but at least this will give you the foundation you need later. So, yep, 1P6 is what it says over here. And the margins, you're going to put 4 for all of them. Well, that's relatively simple to do. So there's the margins, and I'm just going to put a 6 right over here. Yep, everything else is fine the way that it is. Just make sure the portrait stays the same. 2 pages, start on 1. That should be it. Oop. Looks like this one a little bit too ambitious, but I'm going to double check. Yep, the margin should be 4. Don't know why it went to 5, but that is easy enough to fix. Oop. There we are. If it doesn't allow you to use the arrows, that's kind of a good thing that we just went over today then. Just make sure that you just put it in manually. Sometimes you have to, and that's fine. So, going to hit create. And for some reason I have 4 columns. That isn't good, but that's okay. Could take this into an opportunity to once again change the columns to 4. Change the margins to 6. So it's nice if you ever have to fix that. And I'm just going to make sure that the other side got the memo. It did not, but that's easy enough to fix. Layout, margins and columns. Change this to 4. Change this to 1P6. Now that should do it. Cool. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to check the margin on this one. Layout, margins, columns. Yeah, perfect. Columns are 3, gutters 1P6. Okay, now to actually bring the 2 pages together, and by the way, I'm in Essentials Classic still. You might as well just stay there. It'll be fine. Going to go to Pages, and this is the last part I'm going to be showing everybody. Going to right-click over here. Going to go to the little option that says Allow Document Pages to Shuffle. Turn that off. And I could just click and drag the one side to the other. So you make sure that pages 1 and 2 match up the way that they do. And then just do your best, and it's a chance to get creative. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for in a nutshell. So that actually is going to wrap up our lecture for today. So what you need to do is later on, please make sure that you hand in your brochure. Hopefully that wasn't too tough. I've seen some people already hand in their work, so that's fantastic. But once you finish this, you're still responsible for checking in for the week by week. But if you do finish a little bit early, well, that basically means one less thing you have to worry about. You can take this time to work on other finals or potentially do the like. But once you're done, you'll take the entire folder and you'll hand that in again via Dropbox. You will have to convert this to a compressed file, or alternatively, you might be able to use the WeTransfer straight away. I'll leave that to your own decision on how you want to approach it. But that is the long and short of pretty much everything I want to talk about. And it's going to be a bit of a shorter one because I want everyone to really focus on finishing up whatever they need to and basically going on to the next topic. If anyone does run into any issues, questions, or problems, you know how to contact me. Some of you have done so and have done very well, I think. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what everyone's going to be able to do. Just a little reminder that to check your grades, because there's a couple people who are missing work. At this point, I've graded everything up to the Photoshop assessment. So if you need to if you see anything else that's missing before the Photoshop assessment, you either need to hand that in. Give me a heads up too, by the way. Or alternatively, you need to basically finish that up. I would strongly recommend doing that after the final's done, because the final's going to be worth quite a bit of your grade. And yeah, just keep an eye on the announcements in your email. I will have some last instructions, but with that, I think we're done for today, at least on my end. And so everyone else, good luck on your final. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you all can do. Thank you, and have a great day.